Live from the Aviva Trattoria studio, it's the Grace Curley Show.
You either have grace or you don't.
Read Grace's work in The Spectator and see her recommended reading at gracecurleyshow.com.
She's a nasty woman. She's a really nasty woman.
Now, here's the millennial with the mic,
Grace Curley.
Grace Curley.
Grace Curley.
Grace Curley.
Grace Curley, host of the Grace Curley Show.
Grace Curley.
Grace!
Welcome back, everyone, to the Grace Curley Show. It is Friday, and it is 1:05, and you know what that means. That means we get to talk to Mike Crawford from the Young Jurks, quickly becoming a fan favorite, and he's able to keep up with everything that's going on here in the crazy state of Massachusetts. There's never a slow news day, and I do mean that literally. Like every single day, there's 6 or 7 stories I could talk to Mike about. I want to start today, Mike, and I'm going to kind of give you the floor here, because what a lot of people don't know is before Karen Reed and before you really dug into that story, you oftentimes would talk about Boston and the cannabis industry. And so it's kind of the perfect merger here of several different things that you know a lot about. The Suffolk Sheriff, Stephen Tompkins, was federally charged this morning while he was in Florida. He was arrested this morning in Florida for allegedly extorting a pot company here in Boston, a Boston cannabis company. Tell us the details about this story and fill us in on what's happening here.
Allegedly, Sheriff Tompkins is not the smartest or best investor. That is for sure. He basically broke even on this investment. He actually lost money, but he extorted it to a break even. It's just shocking that he would make such a stupid choice here. He basically took $50,000, asked this dispensary group that he had been working with through the sheriff's office, and he basically extorted them to go in the IPO, the initial public offering, which seemed like a good deal for him. He was making good money, and then the stock crashed. And when the stock crashed, he went back to the cannabis company that he had leverage over due to the sheriff's office, because they had a deal with the sheriff's office, part of their equity plan with the state of Massachusetts, part of the licensing requirement that these dispensary groups get back. And their giving back was a deal with the sheriff's office that they would help give people job training and help people, reform, convicts from the prison. So he used that to basically extort this company allegedly twice. And it's like the worst investment ever. It's like, dude, you're a fool. Like most people over the last 5 years invested in NASDAQ 100 and made a killing. Legally, you didn't need to do that, and you lost money, and you look like a poor investor. It's just like all that for a loss, basically. It's unbelievable that he would give up his job, his reputation, and it just shows what's been going on in the cannabis industry and why I covered it for so much is the corruption. I was all about cannabis, rights and patience and reform and passing law, and then when I saw with these big corporations and a lot of public officials at the trough there, it's just really kind of gross. And the consumers and patients and the workers especially got the shaft here.
Well, I'm glad you mentioned his job, Mike, because the Boston Herald's Flint McGonigal wrote, Tompkins was appointed sheriff in 2013 by then Governor Deval Patrick to replace Andrea Cabral. Tompkins won a special election the following year and has won multiple 6-year terms since. He earned a total of $215,430,000 with a $191,000 base pay in 2024. So he was making good money to begin with.
It's unbelievable. And then you take $50,000 that you had and you invested it in this because you thought you would make a killing, kind of in a shady way, using, to get in on their IPO. And then you lost. And you lost because it was actually a foolish investment. And he should have just taken his money, like I said, and put it into NVIDIA and Facebook and Google like everybody else did and made a lot of money. Instead, he got greedy and lost. It's hilarious. It's like karma. And now he lost that big job. I guarantee. I mean, I don't know how that's going to go. I don't know how long he can stay in office. That's the question. When's he resigning?
Yeah, I won't hold my breath on the resignation, but I would ask Mike, they're using words like extort and bully. Do we know any details as to how he did that?
Well, it's obvious in this. They didn't name the dispensary company. It's obvious to me who it is. It's obviously SN Cannabis, which, funny enough, the CEO was Andrea Cabral, a former sheriff as well. I don't know if she's still the CEO, but it seems like the dispensary company blew the whistle. And I think that's why the feds have protected the identity of the dispensary group. But I think if you read between the lines, it's obvious it's Ascend. They did an IPO. So, it's very interesting. It definitely came from Ascend, and you feel like they got the goods if it came from Ascend. They told on them.
Mike, I want to switch gears here, and I didn't give you a heads up on this, so forgive me if this is not in your realm of expertise, but I think it's a story you've probably been following. Have you been following the story about the Massachusetts State Auditor and how she's now hired an outside law firm to sue the legislator over failure to comply with the ballot measure? I was on the beach this weekend, and a friend of mine was livid over this, and he was livid at me. He said, "You haven't been talking about this at all. You haven't even made a comment about it." And I thought, you know what? That would be a good chance to give Mike the microphone and talk a little bit about the hiring of this outside law firm. And Massachusetts voters approved the ballot question. I think this is something we see a lot in Massachusetts, where people approve something or they vote for something. And just because people overwhelmingly support something doesn't mean it actually ever happens. So talk to us about this.
I'm glad you brought this up, because I have had Diana Zazaglio on my show several times, but I haven't covered it in a while. People are actually saying the same thing to me. And I love what she said. She called it the Mass legislature an authoritarian regime. And it's so funny how all the Democrats are always pointing at Washington, D.C., but in the Bay State, it's not looking too good. And I love Diana DeZoglio that she's not giving up. She took a little break. She's got an attorney. The AG is bucking her. It's ridiculous what's going on, because the majority, a large majority, more than any other elected official, voted yes for this. And it's independents, it's Democrats, it's Republicans, it's everybody in the state. And I'm wondering, is she going to run for governor? I think she should, because she's a breath of fresh air. I just hope it gets through. It's really kind of sick that we can't even get a lawyer for this. They won't even allow it to be heard. That's how bad the state is.
Yeah, and just to add to your point about how people overwhelmingly voted for this, it was 72%. So this wasn't something where it was close. I know sometimes public officials use that as the excuse, like, oh, well, we have to do a redo, or, we'll vote again. But this was an overwhelming majority of the Commonwealth asking for this audit. What is the reasoning? I know they're saying it violates the state constitution's separation of powers. So we're not allowed to see where our money's going. Is that how I'm reading this?
That's exactly it. It's funny how you can rule that after the fact, because the AG is supposed to, in any ballot initiative, one of the first steps in the process, besides gathering the signatures, is the AG reviews the language and determines whether that language is constitutional. If it's not, then it's not allowed on the ballot. So the AG ruled it was constitutional then, but not now. It's very interesting how they want to interpret it, but they won't even let Diana DeZoglio, who led this initiative, who is the state auditor, who does want to do this, they won't even let her get an attorney to kind of suss it out and see if let's find out. Diana DeZoglio wants to take it to the courts. They say it's not legal. Let's find out.
I cannot imagine the level of waste, fraud, and abuse that is happening if this is the stonewalling that's going on.
Yeah, and that's the issue. I mean, you can call the constitutionality of it all you want, but that doesn't negate the real issue. There's no transparency at the State House. They just started telling us for the first time, like, how committee members vote. That doesn't happen in other states. They don't have any FOIA laws at the State House or with the governor. That doesn't happen in Florida. They call the red states all regressive, but you know what? We're more regressive at our State House than any other state. So let's be real.
Yeah, I want to switch gears here. You just mentioned FOIA, and this actually sparked something in my mind that I want to get to. There was an anonymous out-of-state attorney who filed a FOIA request, and it was a 400-page lawsuit against the Mass DOT for refusing to produce any public records related to Karen Reed that this person requested over the past 5 months. What do we know about this? I know this person is staying anonymous, but again, we're talking about a lack of transparency, a lack of accessibility, and that definitely played a huge role in the Karen Reed case.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't know too much about this, but I do know who the attorney is. She's she is a legitimate attorney out of state. I'm not sure if she still wants to be anonymous. She has been, so I'm going to keep that right now. But she filed that, and it seems like she got a lot of documents, and looks like she's looking to share it with some of us. She's been posting it on Twitter. She posted one screen capture that was very interesting. It was a picture of Detective Sergeant, whatever we call him, Buchanan. And he basically was doing the whole reenactment, the Smurf reenactment with the taillight. And it happened with Trooper Paul apparently. So it's funny how they used Trooper Paul trial 1. He went bad, but they still did this reenactment with him between trial 1 and 2, but they didn't use it. And then they brought in Welcher, who did the same exact reenactment that Buchanan is doing with the arm and the taillight. So it's wild to see more documentation coming out and knowing that there's more and the story's not going to end. We keep finding out more and more about how much money and time and just ridiculousness was wasted on the Karen Reed, the 2 trials here.
Absolutely. Mike Crawford from the Young Jurks. Everyone follow Mike on social media, on X. It's at the Young Jurks. It's JURKS. There you can get links to his YouTube and really to all of his different outlets that he utilizes that people really enjoy. So make sure you follow him there. We'll talk to you again, Mike, next week. And this podcast, if you want to share it with anyone who's very intrigued with what's going on with that state audit,